Oh, did you hear that knee crack? Gosh, I'll tell you what, when you get over the age of 30, you do really start to get rusty. And you sit down and stand up, and there's all sorts of noises that come out. Anyway, what are we talking about today? Well, it's a sunny afternoon, and I thought, okay, let's take one of the topics, the many topics on my list of videos to get through, and let's talk a little bit about acceptance. So what do I mean by acceptance? Well, acceptance of the facts that you may be anxious. It's at first probably a bit of a difficult thing to comprehend and to get your head around, is when you get told, oh, I think you might be an anxious person, or you might be suffering from anxiety. It can initially make you feel potentially a bit ashamed, embarrassed, perhaps catch you off by surprise. Maybe you never considered yourself to be an anxious person, and all of a sudden you're looking at the way you're going about life and thinking, am I even the same person? Who am I now? It takes a lot of time. It took me the best part of, I'd say, these 10 years to really accept my anxiety and to not look at it in a particularly negative way, which is a very easy thing to do with any sort of mental health condition. It's very easy to have a look at it and punish yourself for having this weight to deal with. Oh, I wish I wasn't anxious. If I wasn't anxious, I would be able to do X, Y, and Z. Those kinds of statements may be true, but at the same time, there's still an awful lot that you can do when you have to manage something like anxiety. If anything, it can be a good exercise to try and turn it into a source of motivation. That's certainly what I've tried to do with my experience, and that's an experience that I'm hoping to share with people like you. I'm hoping if you've come across my channel, you might be someone that may be feeling anxious right now, or you might have a friend perhaps, or a family member who is dealing with anxiety, and you might be wondering how to approach it. That's what I'd like to help you with. So if you're not subscribed yet, please do, because I'm going to be doing a lot more videos just like this one about the topic of anxiety, speaking from an experiencer's perspective rather than I guess a therapist's perspective. So in terms of how you can start to go about accepting your anxiety, or perhaps helping someone else go through that process of acceptance, the most important thing, first of all, to do is to recognise that it's normal. There are so many people out there now who are being diagnosed with various mental health conditions, and despite what the news might tell you, I think in many ways that is a good thing. It's not a great thing that we do have a mental health crisis, of course. That's not what I'm trying to say in this country and around the world. But it is a good thing, at least, that more people are reaching out to their local services and are getting the support that they need and the recognition that they need to be able to get that support as well. So that's the first thing, is recognizing that how you're feeling is normal. It is a normal thing. We're humans. It's a complicated world, and our minds have to deal with an awful lot of things these days, particularly overstimulation, from social media, having to feel like all the time that you've got to meet this certain standard, otherwise you won't fit in. A lot of it is utter nonsense, as we all logically know. But the problem, of course, is when you have something like anxiety, your irrational mind is spinning a narrative that is very difficult to ignore. And so that's why it can lead you to feel like you're not normal. But the truth is, you are. So that's the first step. The second thing then is to, once you've been able to come to accept the reality of the situation, that you've got this condition that you've got to deal with, you've got to take some level of responsibility for, what do you do next? Well, the next thing is to not keep it to yourself. And what I mean by that is you need to be able to try and find some spaces, some people that you can talk openly about how you're feeling. It's never a good idea to keep these things in. And I'm not saying, that it's easy for everyone. Everybody's situation is different. You might not really have anybody around you that you feel like you can trust. But there is always someone or someone that you can talk to, even if it's ringing a Samaritan's helpline, for example, or engaging in private therapy if you can afford to do so, or finding a local coffee group. Going and talking to people in a neutral, friendly space about how you're feeling. And that doesn't even necessarily mean that you have to talk about anxiety specifically, but you can tease out the conversation. You can kind of dip the toe in it, so to speak. You can perhaps go along to a coffee morning, meet some local people, strike up a conversation, and just talk a little bit about how your days have been lately, and perhaps some of the things that you've been finding difficult. You never know. You might find someone else out there has a shared experience that you can then relate to, and also that can help you not feel as alone as well, because that is the bit really that is one of the hardest battles to face, and to overcome, is that feeling that it makes you feel sometimes anxiety, that you are alone, but you're not. You're not alone by any shape or form. I, for example, can see you. I see you. I get it. Believe me. I know that we're at different ends of a lens. But even if you've not spoken to anyone about it, and you just want to drop a comment, perhaps in the comments here, please do. I'll absolutely respond, and I'm sure that others who eventually come across this channel will do the same. Something I'd like to be able to do with this channel, and to have as a positive outcome from this channel, is to hopefully at some point build a community where people can just openly share their experiences in a non-judgmental way, in a sort of whatever that community might be. I don't know. I started this channel a couple of weeks ago, after all. There's a long journey ahead, but I digress. So yes, and then I'd say probably the final point, because there's all kinds of ways that you can come at accepting anxiety, but the final point that I guess I'll just cover today is taking some form of action, some steps towards making anxiety a little bit easier to manage for yourself. So that might be putting a routine into your daily life of perhaps going for a walk in the morning or an afternoon or an evening, or even just 10 minutes where you step outside barefoot and you go and walk on the grass, and you really sort of feel the grass, and you kind of have yourself a mindful exercise. Take a mindful moment. That can do absolute wonders just for helping to lower the pressure in your mind and allowing you to ground yourself before you then go back into whatever you're dealing with at the particular time. I do that quite a bit sometimes when I'm at work, when I'm in the office. I might, if I've been sat for too long and I'm feeling a little bit tense, or maybe I've just come off of a really long Teams meeting and I need to just shake it off for a moment. I'll go outside. Maybe I'll make a coffee, or I'll go buy a coffee from the local cafe, and just take a few minutes to really check in with my body and check in with my breathing, and just feel it out, and just really come back into myself before then I go back to the grind, so to speak. Daily life, this modern life is what it is. There are many things that you can change, but you can't change everything all at once, right? So, but what you can do right now is you can take some steps for yourself, and I think that is the most important thing, is just taking some time for yourself out of your day to really check in and to do something positive for your own mental well-being. It really does make a huge difference, those simple little steps every day. And then gradually, consistently, you add more steps in. Maybe you start trying to meditate, or perhaps you increase the amount of therapy that you're having, to deal with particular patches of things that you're trying to deal with, whatever that may be. But you build it up. It's almost like reps at the gym, I suppose, in terms of how you can really help that process of acceptance with your anxiety to come through. And when it does come through, and it will eventually if you stick at it, oh boy, is it freeing. It's not like the anxiety goes away, but certainly the judgment, the self-judgment, the self-criticism, that starts to fade away. I think part of it with me is age. I think when you get over your 30s, you do start to care a little bit less about what people think. That's definitely a factor for me, but I think also just having managed this condition for so long now, and having got to this place of acceptance in the last year or two, and that has been through some therapy as well. But getting to this place of acceptance with my anxiety has at least stopped me from punishing myself too much. If I have say I have a day where, I don't know, I wig out over something, maybe loud noises is one of my things. I'll talk about triggers in another video, but loud sudden noises, sometimes they set me off a bit. I used to really punish myself and get so embarrassed for that, but not anymore. Now I just accept that it's something that sets me off. It's something that I have to manage. So I found my ways around dealing with that. Sometimes if I can, remove myself from the situation. Sometimes I may put earphones in with some noise cancelling. That has helped me an awful lot. But the main thing is that, coming back to the point of this video, I have accepted that anxiety is something that I live with. Some people may be able to fully overcome anxiety, and if you can, then congrats to you. Absolutely great. Everybody's journey is different, and who knows, maybe one day I will fully overcome my anxiety. But right now I'm at a place of acceptance, of where I accept this is who I am, this is how I respond to things. It's a part of me, and I manage it in the best way that I can. And that's it. That's just I guess a little download from me about acceptance, and that's just from my own experience. I'd really love to know though, what's your experience like with accepting anxiety? Please do let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, and if you think this video would help someone else that you care about, then do share it with them as well. Anyway, until the next one, I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you around.